customers at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com receive $25 in WagerBucks after your first initial purchase. All you have to do is sign up, make your purchase, and you'll get $25 in credit.
All right, guys, here we go. Happy Wednesday to you now. It is March the 10th, 2021. Time for another edition of the College Basketball Tip-Off Show, powered by WagerTalk.com. We got conference games on our mind here today, already underway, a couple of games, but we're going to drop some knowledge on 4 of them today. And those 4 games will include Butler, Xavier, North Carolina, Notre Dame. We'll talk a little Big 12, Iowa State and OU. And we'll end up in the Pac-12 there with Washington taking on Utah. And, of course, we will cover these games with 3 of the absolute finest handicappers you will find, both east and west of the Mississippi. And it'll start with Tony Mejia. We'll also bring in, of course, Dave Koken in the house. And below me here today, Matt Joseph's back from SportsMemo.com. And here are the Twitter handles. That's right. Look, I know, right? The big smiles here. Check out the Twitter handles when you get a chance here, guys. We've got it at Mejia Denaro, at Dave Koken, at Mid-Major Matt. And Mejia, I'm coming to you first, my friend. How you been, man? How's your conference tournaments been going so far? And what do you got going on today at Wager Talk?
Decent so far in conference tournaments. I should just put 4% on everything because that seems to be all I'm hitting with great regularity. I'm 11-4 this month on the 4%, and it's 18-7-1 dating back to late February. So that's going really well. The 3s and 2s, really mediocre, batting about 500 with that, which isn't great. But 2-0 on the day already. We're going to count Cuse as a victory right now, much to Matt Joseph's chagrin, because I don't want to jinx him. But I think with a few minutes to go, we can put that in the win column. One earlier with the Northern Colorado over. So 2-0 start to the day. Can't beat that.
Cannot beat that. And Dave, I understand there is a game on the card you liked here to give it that 5% moniker. That's not something you do very often. I think 3-1 so far this year, 16-4 in 2020. So 5% play, you must like it.
Yeah, I put out very few of these, obviously. 25 all of, 1 year and 3 months. That's pretty infrequent. I look for something unusual, out of the ordinary, for my top plays, and I think I found a game where that certainly is the case today. So it's not a game that really fits on my numbers or in style comparison, things like that. It's just a situational thing where I really want to go against a particular team, and I had determined that whoever they were playing today, I was going to take the other side. And that's what I've done. So that plays up right now at WagerTalk.com, along with everything else I have. And we'll see if it gets there.
Love that. All right. And by the way, guys, it's up and ready. And I have both Tony and Dave at WagerTalk.com. And Mid-Major Matt Joseph's at SportsMemo.com. We've got a very interesting, we got a great opportunity for folks to be able to invest in some of Matt's best bets here tonight. We'll tell you about that in a second. But how's it been going, Matt? What do you got going on right now at Sports Memo?
4-1 day yesterday. I had a couple of easy winners. The Gonzaga first half over was a easy winner. Had the over in the Oakland game. That was an easy winner. Had the Duke team total over. That was an easy winner. I did a 3-team money line parlay yesterday with Duke, Drexel, and I threw Gonzaga in there. And who knew the Gonzaga part would be somewhat of a sweat. The only loss was the one thing I've played consistently is the first half fade of COVID teams coming off their pauses. Quinnipiac missed like 15 layups in the first half, and then they give up a shot at the buzzer, and I lost the cover there. So a 4-1 day. We've got another COVID pause fade coming up with Wyoming as San Jose State's coming off a COVID pause, and then a 4-pack of plays up on our website, hoping to build off a 4-1 yesterday.
I love it. All right, guys, SportsMemo.com for Mid-Major Matt. Great opportunity right now. Get 50% off any single one-time purchase. Do it right now today. Head over. It expires at midnight tonight. Use the code PLAY50 at checkout at SportsMemo.com. That's PLAY50. Any single one-time purchase, you can get 50% off. Do it. Head over to Mid-Major Matt's page now at SportsMemo.com. All right, before we get to this Butler-Xavier game, we'll start there in the Big East. Let's take a look at some of those top performances from 24 hours ago, and there certainly were some good ones there. Charlie Pride Bryant, a losing effort over Mount St. Mary's yesterday. Also, Gus Okafor dropping 26-4, 1-5 for Southeastern Louisiana, taking on McNeese State. That came down to the end. Some of those covers as well yesterday, too. Long Beach State, go figure, 85-63, 24.5 points. Definitely didn't have that one. Duke also taking on Boston College. We figured they'd win. It was just a matter of how much. And, of course, early yesterday, how about that Miami team? Miami hobbling in, takes care of Pittsburgh. That covered by 9.5. Pretty good upset there. Go ahead, Dave.
Well, I want to talk about Pittsburgh for a moment because this drives me wild. On all these TV things on ESPN. This was on the ACC network, which is an arm of ESPN. Stop saying that he's a great coach, but Mike Capel isn't a great coach. Okay, Pittsburgh sucks. The program is a disaster. The two best players transferred out of the program. They haven't won a thing all year. They've got nothing in terms of recruits coming in. He's not a great coach, okay? Stop prefacing this with this. Apparently, you got to give blowjobs to every coach out there because they know each other. But, boy, you lose all your credibility when you say that. Capel's done a bad job at Pittsburgh. They probably should be looking in another direction right now. It just drives me nuts when they say this. And Pittsburgh yesterday was a poorly prepared team that was horrible down the stretch in their loss. Sorry about the rant, but I know a lot of you guys watching probably feel the exact same way. Why do you have to keep on calling everybody a great coach when it's clear that they're not?
Yep. And then they'll follow it up with, with all due respect, I'm about to disrespect you. So it's.
And then the thing is, they say, oh, he's a great coach. And then they tear the program up to shreds. Because they essentially did exactly what I did just now, talking about all the negatives with the team. Well, then clearly he's not a great coach. Cut it out.
They're still in the rebuild. We'll see how that goes, guys. Also, some of those totals from yesterday as well. Not only did we have Cal State Fullerton and Cal Poly going ahead over by 29.5. Notre Dame and Wake Forest also hit the over. And some of those unders, you heard mid-major Matt talk about it. Quinnipiac and Iona to the under, as well as Duke and BC. So let's start today with Butler and Xavier. Let's talk about the number 7 seed Xavier Musketeers taking on the number 10 seed Butler Bulldogs. Opening round Big East tournament here in New York. We've got an opening line of 5.5, a total of 133.5 in this one. And I'm seeing sixes, and I'm seeing 133, still right around that same total, Tony Mejia. So talk to me about these two inconsistent teams, if anything, here. Do you trust Xavier at a 5.5, 6 number?
No, I don't trust either of these teams, and they played very similar games when down the stretch. They played twice over the last 40 days, so this will be the third meeting. There's certainly familiarity there, and Xavier won both games 68-55, and most recently 63-51 on the 21st of February. And they beat Butler in that game without a handful of players. So the Bulldogs are a little healthier, I think, today. Maybe that makes them a live dog. Certainly, Xavier has fumbled away an opportunity to reach the tournament as an at-large. I think they have to win the entire Big East tournament and don't expect them to do that in order to advance to the NCAAs. Zach Freemantle has struggled. I really like Paul Scruggs and his ability to lead a team at both ends of the ball, but he's slumped. So Colby Jones, a streaky shooter. Lots of guys would have to get hot for them to win a couple of games in a row at Madison Square Garden.
Yep. But I mean, Butler, Dave, did a pretty good job right there at the end. Winners of 2 of their last 3 heading into the tournament. Does it continue for them, you think?
I don't know. I don't think so. They're really just not much of a team. If you look at their category standings in just about everything in the Big East, they're down at the bottom. Offensively, they're okay. Defensively, but not outstanding by any means. There's just nothing they do particularly well. But that said, Xavier's been overrated all year. There's always a team or two that you're going to find for some reason, really stacks up well in the analytics, but in real life, they're just not that good. And Xavier, to me, is a glaring example of that this year. If you look at them from an analytic stats standpoint, it's like, yeah, these guys are pretty good, but it really hasn't translated to on-court performances. They've got a decent record, but they're overrated nationally. I think they'll win today. I'm not comfortable laying the number, so it's not a play that's on my card. But I don't know that Xavier's going to win more than one game in this tournament. It just hasn't come together for them. I think that the individual pieces are better than the team component has been. They probably should be a better team than they've been, but they're not.
Matt, how are you going to approach this game here? You looking at it from the side or from the total?
I mean, both of these teams suck. We do these middle of the road Big East teams on this show, and it's just like you can't find an edge. I mean, Butler, Bryce Enzi is a game time decision. Bo Hodges is a game time decision. If they're both out, and Aaron Thompson's already out, and you're looking at a team that barely plays anybody, but can you trust Xavier? I mean, look down the stretch. They lost winnable games down the stretch when you look at Xavier. They fall to Marquette, who's not very good. They fall to Georgetown, who's not very good. They looked ugly offensively in both of those games. So to me, this was an easy pass on a day that's just filled with a lot of the garbage of these big conferences playing each other and trying to sort out the rest.
All right, Matt, I'm going to come back to you. DePaul, Providence. I want to get – no, I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding with you.
Is Creighton playing today? Where's Creighton's first half over? I'll go there.
One thing to add to that, though, if Hodges and Enzi are both out, Xavier won that most recent meeting with those two guys sitting out despite shooting 2 for 19 from three-point range, and they won comfortably. So, Butler has no chance if those two don't play.
Yeah, Nate Johnson's already been out there for Xavier, and things haven't exactly been going well for them. But that's going to be a 6 p.m. Eastern time tip at the Garden here. Butler taking on Xavier. We'll move to the ACC. We'll take a look at the Notre Dame Fighting Irish taking on North Carolina. This game opened up at 6.5. I'm still seeing 6.5. There is a 7 or 2 floating out there. Total hovering around the 150 mark. So, Dave, exciting game yesterday with Notre Dame and Wake Forest. Kind of buzzer beater there at the end. They had to come back and get the job done, but now they got to take on North Carolina. The line hasn't moved an awful lot. How are you going to approach it?
Well, I'm not, but I'll give you an opinion on the game, which is that Notre Dame is going to give North Carolina a battle today. Why not? It's kind of a free roll for Notre Dame at this point. Obviously, they have to make a big run in this tournament to get to the NCAA. That's probably not going to happen. North Carolina a little more comfortable at this point. The Tar Heels continue to be kind of enigmatic. I think they can be very good at times, but they're a good team, but that's it. Notre Dame, look, it's really tough to forecast what they're going to do because they're so reliant on shooting the basketball. I mean, if they are able to get good looks, they can play with anybody because they don't turn the ball over. They don't make mistakes as far as that goes. So if they're able to find good shots, high percentage shots, they can hang in with anybody. North Carolina defensively, pretty good. So maybe North Carolina can deny, and that's why I'm staying out of the game. I think North Carolina might be good enough defensively to force Notre Dame into taking a lot of threes. And if they have to do that, then it's going to be either lucky or not as to whether they stay in the game. But that said, I have no faith in North Carolina to be able to do that because of their inconsistencies. And that might allow Notre Dame to hang in. So that's a kind of a long way of saying I got nothing on this basketball game. I'll give it to the other two guys.
Well, Matt, I mean, listen, momentum and confidence are interesting. Notre Dame, they beat Florida State on Saturday. They come back from 16 down second half yesterday. Now they're getting 6.5 points here against North Carolina. How do you approach it?
So one of the things I like to do sometimes in certain spots is play a team in the first half on a neutral court who's already gotten the lather and has already played a game just because they're more familiar. Now, look, of course, North Carolina has shoot around, and this is a building they've played in, I'm sure, a bunch every year, of course. So it's not like they're completely unfamiliar. But you've got a Notre Dame team that's got their juices flowing a little bit after the win yesterday. The other thing is, I think North Carolina is just going to play volleyball today. They're going to throw it at the rim, and they're going to get the rebound because they're the best team when it comes to offensive rebounds. They had 22 of them the first meeting. Now, granted, they only won that game by 1, but it's a completely different team from that January 2nd meeting. The one thing we know North Carolina is going to get the majority of their misses, and can they put them in? I actually think the over is worth a look here, and I think Notre Dame potentially in the first half. I think Notre Dame's going to get some points. I think North Carolina is going to get more inside. What Dave said is right. If North Carolina is hitting their threes, this game's over. So if that starts happening, then you maybe look to bet North Carolina live. But I think the over is worth a look here. I think Notre Dame's going to be very frisky in the first half, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting there, Tony, because Notre Dame's got zero pressure here. They've already got a win under the belt. Like Matt said, the game's already there. All the pressure on North Carolina. How are you going to go at it?
Yeah, I'm probably not. I'm with Dave and calling this a free roll for Notre Dame, but I don't trust them because I trusted them yesterday, and they didn't get there against Wake Forest. Really didn't turn it on until the final 10 minutes to where you knew that they don't really defend well, but they let Wake Forest get wherever they wanted to yesterday. I'm watching this, I think, for down the road. Caleb Love played really well against Duke in the last game. I think he's the X factor for the Tar Heels going forward to take that next step, because clearly in the front court, they're going to beat most teams on the boards. They're dynamic up front. I don't think many teams are going to be able to match what they have with Baycott and Garrison Brooks coming off the bench. And Sharp in there as well. But Notre Dame has the size to offset that. Durham had a really bad game in that first matchup. He's been playing well of late. So I could see Notre Dame pulling off an upset. But what I'm really interested in, like I said, is Caleb Love. Can he build off a really strong effort against Duke? Because he wasn't able to the first time that happened. He scored 25 points against Duke and then came back with a 2-for-9 shooting game against Virginia and went into a slump. He's really the key as a catalyst at guard that they really haven't had. They were expected to have it last year with Anthony, and he obviously didn't pan out due to injuries. This year was supposed to be Caleb Love. He's been inconsistent. If North Carolina is going to make a run to even the Sweet 16, he's really got to step it up.
All right, good stuff. That is 9 p.m. tonight here, guys. 9 p.m. ACC game there with North Carolina taking on Notre Dame. We're going to move to the Big 12. Let's take a look at Iowa State taking on OU, Oklahoma. And Matt, it's interesting. You've got one team here who suffered 4 straight losses by 5 points or less to end the season. And you've got an Iowa State team that went 18 during conference play this year. So it sounds like an easy game. Oklahoma by 11. Total opens up at 140. Who do you like in this one?
I mean, in all accounts and all theories, that Oklahoma should win this game rather easily. The only positive I see for Iowa State is that Rasir Bolton's going to come in this game. I took the over the second game when they played in Ames. It didn't go even close. 66-56. Oklahoma won that game. Of course, the first game was the over. I would say potentially the over comes into play here, but Iowa State has to do some scoring here. This could be one of those typical get your frustrations out sort of games. Maybe you look at like an Oklahoma team total over, because Iowa State's defense is not very good, and Oklahoma is going to want to exercise a bunch of demons during this 4-game losing streak they just came off of. So I think maybe you look at an Oklahoma team total over here. They should be able to name their score.
So we saw it twice, Tony, right? We saw Oklahoma win by 7. We saw them win by 10. This is 11 and a half. What gives? Is it a blowout written all over it?
Yeah, I don't think so. Lon Kruger gives this Oklahoma team the freedom to – most everybody has the green light. They're really not a strong defensive team, and they're in the tournament, even if they lose this game. So this has the feel where Iowa State can hang around, especially if Bolton's coming back. I kind of like the over as well, simply because, like I mentioned, the Sooners, outside of buckling down against Texas down the stretch, which cost me the over there, have been inconsistent on that side of the ball. They played the 2 games against Oklahoma State where the Cowboys were able to get any shot that they wanted. The double overtime game against West Virginia, they gave up 90 points, won that game. It's a team that, if Brady Manick is going, they can top 80 easily and feel comfortable beating the Cyclones simply by playing offense and looking ahead. So maybe that factor allows the Cyclones to cover. I think I'm leaning Iowa State and certainly leaning the over.
All right, leaning Iowa State. And Dave, it's hard to trust either of these teams. Do you, with lesser of 2 evils, which one do you like?
No, it's not hard to trust Oklahoma. They're a real good team. They've lost 4 competitive games at the end of the season. They're a strong team. A lot of times what you'll find in these conference tournaments is a bottom dweller gets a chance to press the reset button. They go in with nothing to lose, and and sometimes they get hot. But the offset to that is, if it's a team with a lame duck coach, I just don't think that's the case. Now, the question on Steve Prohm isn't whether they want to fire him or not. It's whether they can afford to. There's a substantial buyout clause in his contract. But what we've seen in football and basketball over the last few years is that the buyout clauses don't matter. If they want to move on, they move on. And I think that's going to be the case with Prohm. I think this is the end for him at Iowa State. Some of it's not his fault. I mean, they had a lot of injuries. Their schedule was an absolute, just an incredibly tough schedule this year. I think they only faced 2 teams outside the top 100 all year, and those are both SWAC teams. Those are only 2 wins. But look, there's a lot of names already being mentioned as the successor to Prohm at Iowa State. The players know it. I think they might be interested for a while here, but if they fall behind by any kind of a margin, it's probably going to turn into a blowout. These teams do it. Look, teams with, I've done this for years, teams with lame duck coaches going into these conference tournaments don't do well. It doesn't mean they all lose. It doesn't mean they all fail to cover, because there have been some that have gotten there. But by and large, if you've just faded the lame duck coaches, you win more than you lose. And I think that's going to be the case in this game. So all the rest of the analysis aside, I'm playing against Steve Prohm. I did make a play on Oklahoma. It's not the 5% play. That's on another game. But Oklahoma minus the points is a play for me today. And it's the free play I posted at Wager Talk, and it's also going to be the best bet here on the show.
All right, good stuff, guys. And just a reminder, Dave mentioned 5% play up and ready to go at WagerTalk.com. Tony Mejia also locked and loaded, ready to go here today. It's already been profitable thus far. Head over to WagerTalk.com now. Visit both of them. And then Mid-Major Matt at SportsMemo.com. Great opportunity for you to hop on board here today with him. In fact, at any of his single game purchases right now, 50% off. Just use that code PLAY50 at checkout. That's PLAY50. Any single one-time purchase at SportsMemo.com. Make it with Mid-Major Matt. Head over there right now. Check out his plays, and let's make it a profitable Wednesday. And we're going to move on to the Big 12, to the Pac-12 rather, as Washington and Utah get ready to do battle here. Utah opens up as a 7.5 point favorite, and we look at a total of 144. And I think if I'm seeing 8s now and 145.5. So Tony Mejia, I'm coming back to you here. Washington, I don't know. Every time we bet them this year, it feels like they'd have the game of the year. Utah, do you like them in this spot? Is the number a little high for you?
No, I think the number is about right. Utah has really looked improved over the last 4 weeks or so, and that's with their point guard having a shoulder issue that he had to come back from. Jantunen went out to Finland to play for that national team, had to come back in quarantine. And since they've been healthy, they beat USC and destroyed Arizona State in their regular season finale, 98-59, and just completely outclassed a Sun Devils team that's been the nation's biggest disappointment, as far as I'm concerned, even bigger than Kentucky. So, trying to build momentum off of that, I think this is a good draw for them. I expect them to win comfortably and potentially be an X factor in this tournament.
Dave, we've said it a number of times throughout the year on the show. Washington, just not a very good team here. It is in Las Vegas, T-Mobile Arena, your neck of the woods. Who do you like in this matchup?
Well, look, I mean, which Washington shows up? Their last 2 games, they played pretty well. I mean, they gave Arizona State a good battle on the road. They were up pretty late in that game, eventually lost by 8. Took Arizona to the wire and lost by 1. But prior to that, they got beat by 33 by Arizona State. Had a couple of wins, an ugly loss against Stanford. They're just not a team you can trust. Utah's got to make a run. It's as simple as that. Utah's got only one way to get into the tournament, and that's to win the Pac-12. And I think their attitude going in is that they think they'll be able to do it. I don't think they can do it, but I think Utah, from what I'm gathering, they sound really confident going in. So I think you've got a team with a little bit of momentum, a little wind in their sails right now. They They did handle Washington in the regular season meeting, but only by 4. So I don't think they're going to take the game for granted by any means. And if Utah's playing with incentive and motivation, they should be able to handle Washington by this number.
All right, Matt. I mean, the Huskies have been profitable too, 5-2 in their last 7 against the number here. They're going to get 8.5, even in some spots. How are you going to approach it?
You know, Mike Hopkins is a really good coach, but I'm just kidding. I was just saying because, you know, Dave gave us the lesson earlier. You know, the big question to answer for this game is, do you think Utah scoring 98 was more a product of them figuring it out, or was it more a product of Arizona State has packed it in and they're done for the season? If you think that they suddenly have figured some things out, and, you know, they're on a decent little stretch here offensively, if you think that they're going to put up some points here, you're going to look at the over. If you think it was a product of Arizona State being terrible, then you may actually look at Washington here, or you may look at the over once again. I'm not particularly impressed with either of these two teams. Washington plays the horrible zone and they just don't score a ton of points consistently. And then Utah, they're not consistent either. You look at this down the stretch here, a whole bunch of losses here. So this was an easy pass for me. The only thing I'd look at is the over here. I don't think that Utah all of a sudden figured things out. I think it was more a product of Arizona State is one of the most fadeable teams right now. And the shame of it is we may only get one more chance to do it.
All right, guys, good stuff. 4 games there. We're going to transition into the best bets. And, of course, just want to remind you, you can head over to WagerTalk.com right now. Grab Dave's 5% play in college hoops tonight. It is up, locked, and loaded, as is Tony Mejia, ready to go. And, of course, Mid-Major Matt at sportsmemo.com. The opportunity to make it a profitable Wednesday awaits you guys. Let's take a look at our Gold Sheet play of the day. Our friends from the Gold Sheet are looking at Washington State. Washington State there, Arizona State here tonight, and I believe that is the late game. That is 4 p.m. I'm sorry, that's the afternoon game. 4 p.m. Eastern time here on this one. But Tony, it looks like Washington State. Nobody seems to trust Arizona State these days, and who can blame them?
Yeah, it's been a waste of a year. They were really excited about Josh Christopher coming in as one of the nation's top recruits. Obviously Remy Martin at the point, and Marvin Bagley's brother, Marcus Bagley, has actually played well, but he got hurt. They've got a lot of talent, and it was completely wasted by Bobby Hurley this season. So, no surprise that, it appears that they've quit on him. No surprise that a lot of people love Washington State, including the Gold Sheet here.
And if you guys want to get that entire write-up, just head over to Wager Talk's Twitter page. It will be posted there for you guys, as each and every one of the Gold Sheets plays that we post in the shows. You can find them, full write-ups, at Wager Talk on Twitter. All right, Tony, I'm coming back to you, my friend. Let us start off your best bet here tonight, the game you circled for us.
Oh, well, I will have a lot of plays tonight. I typically wait until 1 or 2 hours before tip-off on most of these games just to make sure I'm on the right side of the line movement, and no surprises come in this late in the season with guys opting out or quitting on their teams or being too injured to play. That's why I mentioned earlier I might actually move against Butler if I see news there. But this is a play I've already locked in. This will be to my clients, and it's also my free play on this show. It's Providence and DePaul going under the posted total. I think Providence is in for the long haul in this tournament, and Ed Cooley is one of those coaches who pulls back the reins. He likes to work the shot clock. I think he is very comfortable with the fact that he'll be able to get past DePaul in this matchup, and will probably play a few more guys than he normally does. He's going 6 deep these days, so probably see some guys that don't normally play get a few more minutes, get their feet wet in this Big East tournament. And the fact that these teams are playing at Madison Square Garden, it offers another interesting twist in that nobody's played at Madison Square Garden this year because St. John's hasn't played there. The Big East tournament, actually, last season, the last team to win a Big East tournament game was DePaul, because that the game was canceled. I think it was Creighton playing on March 11th with all the COVID news breaking out and all the cancellations in mass. I think they were at halftime when the Big East tournament was canceled the night before DePaul had actually won. So DePaul's the last team that has played and won a game at Madison Square Garden in this Big East tournament. They also scored just 47 points against Providence when these teams played on February 13th. Really bad DePaul team. So I think Providence wins, advances, but it's going to be a lower scoring game in the 60-50 range again.
All right, there you go. Tony Mejia, WagerTalk.com, guys. Make sure you get over to the page. Locked and loaded plays will be up. And Dave, just to recap and reiterate, it's Oklahoma that you liked here on the show, and the free write-up is at Wager Talk, correct?
Yes. So is the video, which is 1 minute and 30-something seconds or 140, something like that. Oklahoma's one of 6 games I have today, 3 in college basketball, 3 in the NHL. One of them is a 5% play. It's not in Oklahoma, but I did play the Sooners in the game and expect them to. If they get off to a fast start, they're going to crush this team. If Iowa State hangs around, we'll see what happens. But I did lay the points with Oklahoma.
All right, laying those points with Oklahoma. And Matt, where are you going, my friend, at sportsmemo.com? What do you got for us today?
Well, I would have. If this show was earlier, I would have given out the Wyoming first half because it was a COVID fade, but they're playing right now, and I'm not Carmine Bianco giving you games that already happened. So I'm taking – I guess I'll be the square of the panel. I'm taking Duke in the first half -1. I believe in teams that play a game in a neutral site and then play the next day. I think Duke played really well, got some confidence back. Granted, it was Boston College, and probably the Mighty Mites would have beaten Boston College yesterday. But I liked what I saw from Duke. I don't know what to expect from Louisville. The Malik Williams injury, he did start in that game in Cameron against the Blue Devils. I think Mark Williams is going to have a good game. Matthew Hurt has killed them in both games this year. I just think Duke gets out to a fast start. And this is going to be more of me trying to figure out what we've got in Louisville, who've had all the injuries, all the COVID pauses. So give me Duke in the first half. I'll be the square. That's fine.
All right, square
I think I'm squarer than you with Oklahoma. That's a real square side.
That's, yes,
if you're handing out the square award on the show today, Matt, I've got you beat.
Ooh, look at the bottom shelf here. All square. Love that. All squared up.
Not square is Wyoming and San Jose State going over 150, which I have. It's 25-21 at the under 12.
Yeah.
So, too bad team playing no defense. Hopefully I didn't jinx it. I won 3-0.
Getting ugly. In Patino we trust. Give me Iona to take care of Siena here today. Love Rick. By the way, guys, all time, the Saints 0-10 in the MAC against Iona. I think that trend continues. Don't forget our friends at the Gold Sheet also ready to go. Let's take a look at the best bet recap. Duke first half, square Mats. You've got Dave Kogan, of course, Oklahoma, 11.5, also pretty square. Tony Mejia is going to go to Paul Providence, under 135. Give me Iona to get the job done here, and also our friends at the Gold Sheet, like Washington State getting a point against Arizona State. And guys, don't forget, head over to Wager Talk right now. Tony Mejia's plays will be up and ready to go. Dave has a very rare 5% college basketball play tonight, guys. Up at Wager Talk. Take advantage of it. And mid-major Matt. Right now, you can go jump on, get any purchase from Matt, and get 50% off right now. Use the code PLAY50. That's PLAY50 at sportsmemo.com. On behalf of Tony Mejia, Dave Koken, and mid-major Matt, that is Matt Josephs at sportsmemo.com. Guys, hit the bell in the upper right-hand corner. And, of course, make sure you come back and join us again tomorrow. More college hoops underway. In the meantime, best of luck with your plays tonight. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.
2021 has been nothing short of spectacular for WagerTalk.